It's so exposed by air. I'm really interested to see maybe those big drop plays come in again. We've seen some players make great defenses, but it's time to find out as we have our Protoss player in the top right position up 1-0 representing SK Telecom T1. He is Classic.
And on the left bottom side of Nimbus, it is Captain America himself representing Cooler Master Storm. It is Polt.
And I can't help, when I see TVP on this map, to think about that WCS America match that Tasia played against Pig Baby.
I will never forget.
He flew into, he did one of those Polt style doom drops into 7 photon cannons.
And a few zealots and a photon overcharge.
And that's falling in style right there.
Yes. Bio units have a lot of DPS, but if they die before they actually made it to the ground, then
it doesn't matter how many guns are in that medevac. You need to unload them first.
Definitely true. Curious to see if we'll see some more Command Center first, or maybe even a Nexus first here, but no, Classic is not gonna go too YOLO on this one. Polt, on the other hand, is not dropping a Rex yet, so he will most likely go Command Center first. Can't fault him too much for that. Yeah. This is also a map where if I'm expecting Classic to play Stargate once in this series, this could probably be it. And I am expecting him to show quite a bit of variety in his openings, because that opening that he went for in King Sejong Station, like that's a solid opening on King Sejong Station, because those Blink Stalkers do pose a serious threat to blink into the main base from the sides. That's not really possible on Nimbus, so I'd be very shocked to see him do the exact same thing. It's theoretically not even possible, I guess.
Yeah, it's not quite as effective. Of course, you're still decent against stopping some sort of drop-based
but then at least you keep the Stalkers at home.
Yeah, you're not trying to be aggressive.
No,
not on this map. This map is, I'd say, for early aggression, it's well, I mean, just by the way that it's designed, you have that natural, so easy to take, and then you still have the regular-sized main base ramp. At least while the rocks are there, that. You know, you just only need one force field to block it, right? 2-3 buildings will block it off for a Terran as well.
Like, I wouldn't mind a 1-gate fast expand followed up by a Stargate at all from Classic. I actually think that would be a pretty solid play. Because going straight for the Stargate, the majority of the time Terran players as good as Polt will always have the Marines on location, at least, you know, for those specific potential Oracle arriving moments. This is also a very large map where you could potentially try to do something with Dark Templars. It's a little hit or miss, of course, because if your DTs don't do a whole lot of damage, well, then you just have very few units to work with at home. But if they do some work, especially if you add in a Warp Prism as well, things can get very complicated. And then once again, Polt is playing the type of game in StarCraft 2 that he does not enjoy playing. Polt doesn't want to defend, sit at home and worry about what Protoss can do to him. It's like, no, it's supposed to be the other way around. Polt is the aggressor and Protoss is trying to hang in there, trying to stabilize.
Yeah, and from this game, we should be able to see him, just by the way the map works and, you know, as we talked about the positioning of things like Stalkers in the early game, much less likely for him to make as big of a mistake as he did before flying the 2 medevacs straight away into the Stalkers. So I have a feeling we're going to see enough options here for Polt to be aggressive that Classic should not be able to get away with as greedy of a style, the really fast third base, with the double forge.
Especially because it's so open on this map as well. We saw it a bit MMA vs Stardust, where I actually felt that Stardust handled the initial heli and marine drop pretty well. Like, he really didn't take too much damage from it, but he was still not able to secure that third base, just because it's so tricky. You have to worry about these drops in your natural, and the distance between your natural and your third base, especially by ground, is just very large. It's hard to overcome as a Protoss player, and these Marauders, they will run in from one side, cancel your army, or they'll run in from the front. You can only have so many observers as well, unless you're Pig Baby, then you just have a whole lot of them. But
you just have all the observers at that point.
You just turn, Pig Baby has like this option, turn Fog of War off. It's like, hey, StarCraft 2 just became easier.
He's definitely the exception, not the rule on that one. Polt is sending a Marine 2 around the map. He's just looking to see, is there anything hidden here? Are you trying to gain an advantage that will allow you to win this game without, you know, necessarily getting some sort of sick play? You'll have, you know, if you don't scout those hidden bases on big maps, they can really turn against you quite quickly. And, you know, Polt might be good, but your opponent has a free base on you. It's hard to still be better than them.
Definitely. Pretty quick robotics bay going down for Classic on this one. 6 minutes and 40 seconds. That's pretty much as quick as they come, Nate. I don't think he's going to do anything crazy with it, because this is just not the map that you want to go for a 2-base all-in.
Yeah.
That is a very quick Warp Prism as well. It reminds me a little bit of how CG Enters Hero likes to play. Some of these pro Protoss players, they have so few units at home, but by the time that Terran wants to move out for the first time with their 3 racks, 2 medevacs, let's try to make something happen. It's very frustrating when a War Prism flies into your main and drops 4 Zealots, because you're gonna have to retreat, which gives, slows everything down a little bit and makes it a lot harder for these medevacs and bio units to be effective early on.
Yeah, tell me about it, man. As a Terran, I know exactly what you're talking about. You get in these situations where your stim is finishing up, your medevacs are coming out. All you want to do is just run down the field and attack the Protoss player and keep them off of that third base. But when that War Prism shows up, as you step out to the Watchtower, that's when all hell breaks loose. You have to rally your units back. Sometimes if they get a big warping off of it, it becomes very difficult to defend, but
he's not going to Colossus drop, Nate, right?
No,
you don't do that in the WCS round of 16 finals.
I would be really surprised if he went for a Colossus drop, Roddy.
Yeah, he's also researching Thermal Lens before War Prism speed, so that seems very unlikely. I think he just didn't want to reveal the War Prism too soon.
Yeah.
But if he does it...
Is it still over there? Is he really?
It is.
No.
It is still hovering next to the...
No! Okay, well...
Precious cargo. That's for sure.
That's not a unit you want to. It's not a unit you want to show that early.
I don't think that Polt expects a Colossus to be in there.
No one expects the Colossus drop.
Unless you're watching Puck stream, this is not something that we see very often.
Yeah, I mean, we were playing like some 2v2s, like, oh yeah, build doesn't work in 1v1 anymore. We like Colossus drop in 2v2s, people don't understand what's happening. It's like, well, no, you can still 1v1 apparently.
This is so risky. If this War Prism gets spotted by a bunch of stimmed Marines, and it's actually pretty close.
Okay.
Wow. If he warps in a couple of Zealots as well, you can't just send a few Stim Marines to take care of this.
There's a reason why this build is pretty difficult to deal with.
Okay, there are Marauders as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, even the Colossus, you can even dodge the Marauder shots if you micro well enough. I mean, this is not what Polt was expecting to have happen when he left his base, to say the least.
The unexpected, but then the Protoss version.
Well, the Zealot support is really nice, too, because you can't just run up and try to target down either the War Prism or the Colossus.
Wow, and here we go. The two
counter drop.
Have to come all the way back. Of course, a lot of mining time being lost already for Polt as well. Has to be careful.
Oh, don't lose the War Prism. Okay, well, is he actually? No, he's going to kill it all off. Surprisingly effective Colossus drop, Roddy. Damn.
Great execution by Classic. Of course, the two medevacs full of bio units are coming back, though, so this is where Polt's party is supposed to start. But another great pickup there for Classic, and it's mostly Marines. These Marines can't get close to the Colossus. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, the combat show, I think, is only just now finished, but if you escape with that War Prism, okay, well, the Colossus is definitely going to die now, but at some point, how was this cost effective enough? He bought himself a lot of time, but he still didn't get his third base.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty expensive as well. It's definitely awesome.
Like, if you escape with the Colossus after that, you're in great position, but it's still a really big investment.
We shouldn't want to analyze this, Nate. We should just appreciate it for being awesome.
That was cool. We'll leave it at that. No one really does that these days.
Let's just take it from here, because it was a lot of Zealots, of course, as well. In the end, the units... resource loss step shows us that it's pretty even. It's 2,400 minerals against 2,100 minerals. A lot of these SCVs were not mining, though, for the longest amount of time. There are 2 Colossus now marching across the map. There are only 2 Vikings.
Oh, he's just going to try to nail this one. You know, this reminds me of MC versus MMA on Frost, I think, in Season 1 this year.
Yeah, where they both spawned on the top side of...
Yeah, he did the Colossus drop and then just went straight into... I mean, MC kept the Colossus alive, if I recall correctly, so it was about a 4 Colossus push, but this is still quite difficult to handle.
Yep, Polt really needs more Vikings, because 2 Vikings in general is going to be very tough. A couple of Marauders are flanking this army. That's very well done. Gets 2 sentries for his efforts. Yes, he does. These 2 Marauders fighting a Colossus as well. If there were still 3 Marauders... Man, this one Marauder was putting up one hell of a fight against the Colossus, actually. Yeah. So that's really good news for Polt. One of these Colossus is relatively low on HP. And these Stalkers, like, this army looks intimidating, but these Stalkers do not have Blink. So they are definitely not as effective as they could theoretically be.
And he hallucinates the Colossi. Polt's like, yeah, you don't have 4 Colossus. I do like the Widowmine play, though. If you try to come up this ramp, makes it even a little bit more difficult.
And no observers in the mix either, so every single Widowmine that's out there is a very frustrating one.
The splash damage from
the hallucinated Phoenix! Oh my god, great play there. In the heck of all this madness, he's still thinking about stuff like that. Extremely well done by Classic, and it just looks like...
The Vikings, they're all gone. There's not a lot to deal with the Colossi. Classic is pushing through. He kills off the factory. More Warpins are coming in. If these Marauders can get close, things get more tricky. But the Colossi remain untouched.
There's just too much Protoss, and even the hallucinated Protoss look, the hallucinated Colossus look intimidating by now. This Widow Mine is going to fire one more time. It will most likely be a juicy shot, but Polt has lost so much already that I don't think it's possible for him to stabilize anymore.
No, as long as these Colossi are alive, everything will just die for Polt. GG!
Wow.